If you got $21 million, I got something to sell you guys. And this is probably not the property of your dreams, but this is what $21 million gets you in downtown San Francisco. And let's be real, they're not going to sell this for $21 million because Wells Fargo sold one of the best properties in San Francisco, downtown, pristine. There's actually no homeless encampments. And they only sold it for like $40-ish million. So no way this is selling for $21 million. This might sell for $1 million just because of a lot value, but the building itself is completely ruined at this point. And the only reason why anyone will buy this building is because of the square footage of the lot. That is it. The building nobody wants. Like, would you really spend $21 million? Probably not. This is a civic center in the corner of downtown San Francisco, and it's going to be $21 million. It's also right next to the Tenderloin district, and everyone is like, well, why would I spend $21 million for this hotel when I could basically live here for free? This is basically GTA 5. There's no law in this place. And of course, people and homeless individuals just pop up tents around this area. The hotel is going through a ton of neglect right now, and I'm not even sure like if this is even open right now. That's the thing. And the homeless population in San Francisco is mostly in this area, and there's about 7,000 to 10,000 homeless individuals in this area. And now what's really crazy is there's just a bunch of homeless people everywhere, but the city just doesn't care, right? The city isn't taking any sort of extreme measures to take care of the homeless population. And the homeless population in the Bay Area is growing, not just because of crazy high home prices, but also other parts of California. They're shipping their homeless population to the Bay Area. And I'm surprised that America's #1 tech city isn't doing anything to stop this. Now, the reason why I think the price is just so absurd, okay, this is why some sellers are still trying to sell their buildings for very high prices, but it's not working, right? Even like Wells Fargo in like this downtown area, super high end, right? I mean, these massive office towers are selling for a lot of money. Put the Google guide down, and you do see some of the most high end buildings in San Francisco. Like, for example, this building right here, it's probably only worth maybe $75 to $80 million. And that's extremely cheap for such a fat building. This building would have easily sold for almost $500 million at its peak. But now so many of these real estate prices are being ruined. A lot of these properties have record vacancies, and they're getting cheaper and cheaper by the day. Like this building right here, I think Wells Fargo sold a building very similar to this one, okay? And they sold it for like just $40 million. I can't imagine selling such a good looking building this big for like just $40-50 million. So there's no way that this building is selling for the price it's asking for. And like I said before, there's just not that many buyers in San Francisco. San Francisco properties is so screwed up right now. In fact, a lot of big banks are preparing for massive office losses. And most of these big banks have a lot of office loans, not in the small cities. It's mostly in some of America's biggest cities, like New York City, Tampa, Miami, Chicago, Austin, Seattle, Los Angeles, and especially San Francisco. San Francisco has one of the highest vacancies right now, almost hitting 40%. Personally, and so do a lot of people that agree with me, say it's more like 50-60%, maybe even 70% in certain areas, because the units itself, they're still being rented out, but it's empty because the employees and CEOs have already left, but they can't cancel a lease because you signed a contract. So they're trying to sublease it, and they're just trying to rent it out, but nobody wants it. So the moment the lease ends, they're going to terminate it, and that's it. So every single quarter, we always see the San Francisco vacancy rate in the office apartment jump up 5 to 7% every single time. The latest report is like 33 to 35%. I think after quarter 3, it's going to be like 42, 43%. And it's only going to continue, okay? It's a doom loop. Yeah, some of you guys say, oh, but San Francisco has some pretty good areas, like in the north. Absolutely, not the whole entire city is rotten, but the core of the city where the office workers are, Union Square, Civic Center, these are supposed to be areas where tech companies group up. But these tech companies have left. Whole Foods has left. Anthropology has left. Go through Market Street. This middle street is supposed to be the busiest in San Francisco. So there's more empty stores than stores are open. That's pretty bad. And this is all really contributing to this massive decline in the real estate area of San Francisco. People are mad right now. And not to mention, San Francisco just increased their building inspection fees by 15%. And they've refused to lower property tax despite the highest amount of property tax appeals. Every single landlord, even the big hedge funds, are begging San Francisco to have tax cuts on the property area because the property values aren't even worth that much anymore. So it's crazy right now. And construction is also being halted everywhere in the city, guys. I mean, last year was a pretty bad real estate market for San Francisco, but they built 1,500 condos. Guess how many condos they built this year? Like 150 condos to like 200 condos. For a city of this caliber, they should be generating thousands and thousands of condos and apartments every single year to keep on demand. But of course, San Francisco, you have an exodus of people, right? And it's not just San Francisco, it's basically all of California. You're getting a massive decline in population. Population has finally stopped growing. People are figuring out, oh, hold up a second. I go to California. Cities look like crap all the time. Okay, it's like this 24/7. I could go to Miami. There's no state income tax. That's awesome. And why would I go to San Francisco and the rest of the Bay Area again? And plus, like, a lot of the big tech companies have also noticed how much money they save by just leaving the city, right? Just moving online and just moving their offices to like a smaller city. It's cheaper, and the employees are pretty happy because they don't have to pay this crazy high rent, and they don't have to commute all the time to work. So you do have these massive construction projects like Hayes Point and also One Oak. Two massive 40-story plus skyscrapers are now being terminated in San Francisco. They're not being built. And just right next door, see that blue skyscraper behind the crane? That's NEMA. They're about to default on a $400 million loan. That's crazy because they are supposed to be the hottest luxury rentals next to Twitter building. And now with so many of the software engineers around the Twitter building leaving for remote and going outside the city, San Francisco is now just spiraling down. Unless something extremely drastic happens, it's not going to recover. By extreme, I mean extreme stuff like much harsher laws, right? I mean, the laws are so lax. I can't imagine, robbing almost $1,000 and being a misdemeanor. That's crazy because other cities like Singapore, that's like almost 7 years in jail. If you go to like Dubai, you would not see people just get a slap on the wrist, right? I mean, laws in several other first world countries are very strict against stealing. Okay, go to Hong Kong, go to Tokyo. If you steal, it looks really bad. It leaves a really harsh mark on your record. And not to mention, the homeless situations everywhere, right? There's just tents and homeless people just sprawled out the city. That's not how a city should be ran. Okay, I gotta give a W to San Diego because at least they actually put the homeless individuals in certain areas of the city and provide a lot of city services to them. That way, they help the people who are in need, people who are addicted to drugs, etc. At the same time, they help the business owners in tourism, and they keep the streets clean. The only city in California I will actually live in is San Diego. I've always liked San Francisco, but recently it's so sad because this is such a fantastic building. I actually had plans to move here, guys. But now, because of the city looking like this, I'm canceling those plans. Whole entire condo buildings being sent back to the lender. I'm like this. This is a whole entire low-rise condo. At the peak, these units would have easily been sold out within just a few weeks. But the whole entire building got foreclosed because not a single buyer was in here. Nobody wanted to buy this unit, and that's how crazy it is. San Francisco properties are just getting worse and worse by the day. It just doesn't get any worse than this, but it's going to get worse. Because we got banks freaking out right now because property values in San Francisco are dirt cheap. I mean, Wells Fargo recently sold their skyscraper for like 60-70% off. That's insane. And it's going to be even lower because the city's getting worse and worse. More and more companies are leaving. And yeah, it's a sad time for San Francisco.